Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing in the Galactic Family Podcast world tonight? We are doing excellent here. We're joined by a stupendous guest, Samuel Chong. He is a legal translator, a lawyer, and researcher of the Thiaoouba Prophecy. Together, we unpack Michel Desmarquet's extraordinary encounter with advanced extraterrestrials from the planet Thiaoouba, a journey that revealed urgent warnings for humanity and timeless lessons on consciousness, reincarnation, and spiritual evolution. We explore their message on the dangers and materialism, misuse of nuclear energy, and environmental destruction, as well as their guidance on living in alignment with higher universal laws. This is more than just a UFO story. It's a call for humanity to awaken to its true purpose and its future destiny. So let me bring up Samuel Chung. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. Hi, Jay.
I am doing wonderful tonight, sir. And I just want to ask, can you briefly share how your background as a lawyer and an interpreter led you into UFO and ET research?
Well, I was very interested in the ETs and UFOs when I was young, when I was in China. After I came to the US, I got a bachelor's degree in economics, and I studied financial analysis in Spain and also the UK as well. And then I came to understand that it's probably better to go into a different direction than the financial world. So I became a paralegal and became a certified court interpreter, and now I'm a lawyer in California. So in terms of UFO and ETs, that's my interest since I was young.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. What drew you specifically to the Thiaoouba Prophecy and motivated you to translate and share it worldwide with everyone?
Well, that's the information that the author knew but couldn't write in the book. The book really contains a lot of information details that answered all the questions about the paranormal, the ETs, where we all came from, the meanings of life, and also the stories in the Bible, as well as warnings to us. But in the postscript of the book, it says there are far more incredible things that the author knew but couldn't write in the book because we were far from understanding them. And then because of that, I decided to ask the author in person. So I tracked him down. He was living in Vietnam at that time. I flew to Vietnam without knowing his exact address. I showed the local taxi driver a picture of the bungalow that I grabbed from the internet,
Yeah.
asking the driver to take me to where the bungalow is in that city. And then he took me there and I met the author and decided to ask him in person the questions I had in mind. But he didn't really want to tell me anything. But after I learned it, after a few tries, and I did a lot of things for him, and he finally told it to me. And after I learned it, that's my entire motivation in spreading messages and telling people about the stories that he encountered or he experienced with the ETs from advanced civilization.
Okay. What was the most surprising thing you discovered during translation that convinced you of its authenticity?
There are actually a lot of details in the book that really led me into additional research and investigations and also verifications. For example, there's a detail about the disinfection process that the ETs used when Michel entered into their spacecraft. They used yellow light and blue light for that process. And I did some research. There's a Harvard Medical School document or paper, a study that indicates that certain wavelengths of blue light have antibacterial effects. And also recently there's a research paper that shows that certain wavelengths of yellow light also has antibacterial effect. There are also stories about the Bible in which I think make more sense than what people normally believe. Like if you think about who really destroyed the two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, who really parted the sea for Moses during Exodus, and why Jewish people are so unique and so exceptional. And also, there are stories about the birth of Jesus that I was able to corroborate from the astronomical records of China. So, the facts about the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, and also the ET's interventions during World War II as well.
Wow, that's incredible, sir. Um, the book describes benevolent Nordic ETs who are angels. What details make them distinct from other reported species?
Well, this group of ETs are really interesting in the sense that they are highly spiritual, highly advanced, and they don't die at all. They're forever young looking people. They are Nordic looking, but not like the Pleiadians that people normally talk about. They're hermaphrodites, meaning that they have both male and female sexual organs. They have blonde hairs and very sexy looking breasts, and they can communicate through telepathy. They can levitate. They can materialize objects. They can heal all the diseases we can think of. They can travel at the speed a few times faster than the speed of light through their spacecraft. They can also perform all the miracles as performed by Christ. And actually, according to them, Christ was one of them.
Wow. Can you explain how they were involved in Exodus and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Well, there are a lot of interesting details in the book that I find to be reasonable, and also they also make a lot of sense to me. The people in Sodom and Gomorrah, they are not just people who are into sodomy. They were people who punished the people who were compassionate at that time. So, for example, if you read the Jewish texts and also the ancient scriptures, there was a story about a girl who gave food to a beggar on the street. But then the people in the two cities killed the girl and really punished the girl almost to death. And the girl cried out for help. And then there are also other practices in which they were really into torturing visitors. For example, if a visitor is too tall, they cut off their limbs in order to fit into the bed of their hosts. If the visitors were too short, then they stretched the limbs out in order to fit into their bigger beds that they had. So they were really, really setting a very, very bad example to their neighbors. So this is why the two cities were destroyed, because they were just like malignant tumors in the body. You have to remove them in order for the whole body or the human body to survive. So this is what the ETs did, just to remove the cancer cells or the cancerous tumors from the body. So this is what they did. And also in terms of Exodus, the Hebrews were actually enslaved by the Egyptians, the Egyptian pharaohs. The main purpose of us living on earth is to develop our spirituality. But the pharaohs kind of deprived the Hebrews' ability to develop their spirituality. And also the Hebrews also came from a very unique planet originally. So this is why the Jewish people are very unique and exceptional. So they were the chosen people, and the Theubans decided to choose them to liberate them in order for them to be liberated from the evil rules of the pharaohs. So that became what now today's people always talk about Exodus as recorded in the Bible.
All right. It does make a lot of sense. So how do these accounts then align with legends from Chinese and Indian traditions about gods and goddesses then?
Well, if you talk about the Indian traditions, the Indians worship a lot of gods and goddesses. And this book talks about why that's the case. If you look at the Indian paintings, you see that the gods or goddesses that they portray seem to be kind of gender neutral. They're not males or females. So the Theubans tell Michel Desmarquet that in the ancient times, when the civilization of Lemuria flourished in the Pacific Ocean, they actually had frequent contact with the Lemurians. And then the Lemurians were trying to colonize India and also other parts of the world. They had a very difficult time doing so to the people in India. So they received assistance from the Thiaoubans, who appeared like gods or goddesses to the Indians. And then the Indians believed them to be kind of like deities, and they worshipped them. And that resulted in them being colonized by the Lemurians. In terms of the Chinese ancient scriptures, there are a lot of talks about the creations of the universe or the worlds, and also different fights against kind of different kinds of people in the past. There's also talked in this book, because in the early times, about 250 years ago, when the ancestors of the Polynesians tried to land on Earth on the continent of Lemuria, they encountered resistance from the Chinese people. And the Chinese people were and still are very suspicious. I know that because I'm Chinese. So
Yeah.
Yes, I know that. So they had a war with the Chinese. So this is why the people from Lemuria, originally from the planet Arimo X3, they retreated back to the far side of the moon and built ET bases on the backside of the moon in order to transfer their people step by step, phase by phase, to the continent of Lemuria. So this is what happened. So why this is also why some people say that there may be artificial structures on the far side of the moon.
Well, to caveat on that, if you would like a video that someone sent me from the Apollo mission that shows the structure on the bottom, the building, I can give it to you.
Okay. Yes, that's yeah.
I've got that. Somebody sent it to me. It's from one of the Apollo missions. They were going around the moon, and it's only like a 30-second clip, but it's from the LEM, and they're up there, and it's like it's coming through, and then you see, oh my, what is that? There's a building.
Yes. So this book actually explains why they were built on the moon and for what purposes.
And that explains why we've never gone back to the moon if we ran into them there and they said, you're not ready yet. Right?
That's right. We are not ready because we are just like savages fighting among ourselves. We are not ready spiritually.
Okay, I can get behind that. I can. So, what does the text say about the paradise planet that they lived on, and any physical or astronomical clues to that?
That planet is called Thiaoouba, and also known as the Golden Planet by the author, because as the author approached the planet, he saw a golden mist surrounding the planet. The planet is extremely beautiful with vibrant colors and lights. He actually had to wear like a facial mask or like sunglasses to filter out the strong colors and lights in order to not to be drunken by the strong lights. And he also had to be a little bit careful when moving around because the gravity on the planet is lighter than that's on Earth. And it's a very beautiful planet with huge trees and lakes and oceans and also animals that people might find to be very interesting. They have dolphins that are very similar to the dolphins on Earth, highly intelligent animals. They also have horsewomen, like a kind of half animal, half human being like creature that has a female head, like human head, but has horse body and with wings that flies like around and can jump like 3 or 4 meters high or so.
Okay.
Very interesting.
So it's almost like a centaur.
Yeah.
But with wings.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That would be something. Like, I wouldn't even be afraid to see something like that. Like, please let me see something mysterious for once, you know. I've seen my fair share when I was younger and in the military, and now I'm investigating for MUFON as well. So MUFON does all the UFO cases and stuff. So I might actually get you in touch with them as well, because that you would be a very, very wonderful guest to have at like a symposium that they have. to be a speaker for them, because this, if we can get this out farther, I'd love to do it for you.
Thank you. I love
Yeah,
to do it.
exactly. And I know, yeah, we definitely need to get it out. But the book mentions grays, aliens, and craft retrievals. How does that connect with David Grush's testimony?
Well, the author gave out some additional information in a public lecture about the grays. The grays are not talked about in the book, but the author learned about the grays from the ETs mentioned in the book. Saying that the grays are actually not that highly advanced ETs in the universe. They are at our same level. So there are about 9 different categories of planets. We are currently living on category 1 planet. So are the grays. So if we are learning from the technologies of the grays, from the crashed UFO retrievals, then we are actually learning from our peers. We are not learning from the masters who have been guiding us throughout history, as documented in the Bible or ancient scriptures. And the Chinese people are actually learning a lot of knowledge from the ETs whose spacecraft did not and will never crash on Earth. The knowledge from the ETs from Thiaoouba, as this book becomes very popular and has become very popular in China. It's sold about 1 million copies over there. But in the US, this book is relatively unknown. So I'm just encouraging people here in the US to learn about what the Chinese are learning.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. And we don't a lot of times learn what's going over in China because we're so blocked off from each other, and we shouldn't be. I being an American, I have nothing against China, nothing against I really why you guys are the same as us. We want what we want for our people. You want freedom, you want liberties, you want the right to happiness and your family's happiness, and that's it. That's pretty much it.
Yes, and there's a difference between China and the US in terms of people's mentality. In
Okay.
China, people don't necessarily trust the government anymore. They know that the government will not provide insightful information regarding this topic. They know
Okay.
that, so they get information from elsewhere. So they are going to learn from different books. They are going to learn from different sources or private investigations or research. But in the US, there's still a large number of people that still relies on the official disclosure from the government or the
Yeah.
military. So I think this is the difference between China and the US.
Yeah, I think that's a major difference too.
Yeah.
Now, are there any specific military programs, bases identified that or were in the book or anything where ET craft were reverse engineered? Did it talk about that at all?
Not that I know of
Okay.
in China or elsewhere, because this kind of ETs, the ETs from Thiaoouba, they're highly advanced. They're highly spiritual too. So their spacecraft never crash on Earth and will never crash on Earth. So this is why I think we should learn from this book. I believe this book is actually the modern version of the Book of Enoch.
Okay.
It has more details than the Book of Enoch and more applicable to what we are encountering nowadays, the different situations we're facing now.
That would be something to get this dated back before then. Try to get it dated before then, and Enoch was a subsection of the Thiaoouba Prophecy. You mentioned 147 ET species in our galaxy. What evidence or methods are used to support that figure? Is it just like because I see there might be a lot more than 147, like millions, because there's trillions of planets out there.
What I meant was that there are at least 147 different species of ETs just in our Milky Way galaxy. The reason I say that is because the author actually saw 147 different species of ETs in a golden doko, like a half-egg structure on the planet Thiaoouba. he actually saw the different corpse of those kind of ETs displayed or on display in the Golden Doko, and actually he saw the corpse of Jesus or Christ, and actually he gave a very detailed description. He saw the marks of injuries from the whips that Jesus had, and also from the nails that when he was crucified, not on the palm but on the wrists.
Okay.
Because if you learn about the anatomy, human anatomy, you're going to realize that if you nail on the palms, then it's not going to support the body weight. You have to nail on the wrists. So this is what the author saw on the planet Thiaoouba, the corpse of Jesus.
Wow. That does make a lot of sense, because the weight, and it would just, I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, it would not support the weight of a human body if you nail in the palm versus down farther. Definitely not. Are there now, which modern UAP sightings or cases best support the book's claims about propulsion or ET craft?
The modern version, I think all the ETs who are able to come and visit us, visit Earth, must have this kind of anti-gravitational technology, and also some of the technologies that are not made public yet by the military. I think there are a lot of evidence showing, including testimonies of David Grush and others, indicating that the technologies that the ET have need to be revealed publicly to the general public, and not to be compartmentalized within a small group of people. So I think this book talks about a lot of the knowledge that existed in our past, like in ancient civilizations. If you look at the Great Pyramid of Egypt and the moas or the statues on Easter Island, you're going to realize they built the structures using anti-gravitational technologies. And ancient civilizations also knew how to cut the huge stones in a very precise manner. And this is what we call the supersonic vibratory technologies. And if you do some research, you're going to realize that there are supersonic cutting tools that some engineering firms use that can support this technology, or the ancient technologies that we had in the past. And there are also other technologies that we may need to learn in the future in order to travel beyond Earth, beyond the solar galaxy. For example, the book talks about the antimatter guns that the ETs used to destroy space dusts and also small asteroids when they travel at such high speed, a few times faster than speed of light. And they also have to provide sufficient food for themselves. So this is why they have a specific form of space food, a very compactable form of food made of grains. And this is actually the same kind of food they gave to the Hebrews to eat, called manas. And actually, Michel, the author of the book, tasted manas. And it's very interesting.
I remember this, sir. It was called the manna machine.
Yeah.
That they carried through the desert that fed them.
Yeah.
I remember this. Yep. Go
And
ahead.
interesting enough, when Michel was on their planet, he only needed to eat every 2 days or so, because the calories of the food are released at different intervals. So he didn't feel any hunger or thirst for about 2 days or so.
Dang. That's hard to believe. Like, you go without water and stuff, it's oof. But the type of being or person he was at the time, that was possible.
Yeah.
Can you describe the anti-gravity and antimatter technologies mentioned? How do they supposedly function?
Well, for anti-gravitational technology, anti-gravity technology, they just use a specific form of vibrations to neutralize gravity, so that the object will become without weight, weightless. And also they use a different kind of electromagnetic force to push the vehicle, or maybe to have certain kind of form a certain force field so that the vehicle moves around according to their directions. So this is, Michel was a farmer, a landscaper in Australia, and he didn't have a lot of education. So once they got into this technical field or descriptions, Michel just said, don't go into the details because I don't understand. So this is why in the book there are certain descriptions, but not a lot of specific descriptions. I guess this is also a way for the ETs to lead us to do our own research, because this is actually a better way of learning things. If they just tell us the ways or methods, then we wouldn't be able to learn as effectively as if we just do our own research.
You're talking about like the 100th monkey scenario. And I can give that hypothesis here too for you. The 100th monkey scenario was there was 100 monkeys on an island, and it was a secluded island, but there was islands around it. There was monkeys on those islands around it, but they couldn't communicate with each other physically. They couldn't get across the ocean. Well, those 100 monkeys on that one island, these humans came in and taught the monkeys, the one monkey, that it needs to wash its hands before it eats, right? Just one. Then all of a sudden, all the monkeys on that island started doing it, copying the one monkey. But then something very strange happened. All the islands on the outside of that, with all those monkeys, started doing the exact same thing, but they never talked to each other. It was the 100th monkey. They had to learn it themselves. You teach one, they put it out. It's like breadcrumbs. Somebody follows the breadcrumbs and teaches it to someone else, and 5, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, more people see it, and 100th monkey. It'll happen here too with humans, hopefully.
Yes, it will happen.
Okay. See, that is definitely 100% even scientifically proven too. With the 100th monkeys experiment, and also with there was an experiment done where 10,000 people had meditated for 1 month. They meditated, right, on just peace around Chicago. The next month, the crime rate dropped 25%. Coincidence, or was it correlated? I mean, you keep doing it and you get evidence, but eventually we'll have it. And that's what we need. We need more out there. That way people can follow these breadcrumbs and get more enlightened, because without it, we're just going to be back in the Stone Age again. We're going to put ourselves back there.
Exactly.
Okay. What about psychic abilities, telepathy, levitation, projecting images? Were these natural, or were these like tech assisted abilities?
Those are natural abilities of the ETs.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because they live on Category 9 planet, they're able to do everything we can imagine. I mean, they can actually create an adult human being in 24 hours. And the human body is really complicated. It's more complicated than what the modern science believe. We don't just have our physical body. We also have our astral body, and also a few different other bodies. So when you want to make a human being, not only do you have to create a physical body, you have to bring in like an astral body and the other rest of the 7 bodies into the human being in order to make one be able to think independently. Otherwise, the human being would be just like a robot. So they're able to do everything we can imagine. So they are the masters of the universe.
Wow. Are there scientific parallels today, such as EEG experiments or quantum communication studies that are doing these kind of scientific research?
Yeah, if you want to know more about the telepathy, then you can learn about the telepathy tapes. And also in Brazil, in I think at least in the 1960s or so, there are some Native American tribes that were still communicating with each other through telepathy, also projecting images to each other in order to send messages. And that actually explains the story of the Tower of Babel, or Babel, in which people didn't need to learn the languages, and people were able to communicate with each other without the need for different languages. And, and and when we lost the ability, then we had to learn different languages. And according to this book, telepathy can cross all the different language barriers. And there are also other psychic abilities in which the book implies, in which if you want to develop the ability to, for example, perform magic, the
Okay.
psychic magic, then you will need to meditate and then concentrate. So if you know about remote viewers, they have to go into a very deep meditative state, go into the theta brainwave in order to be able to perceive images from
Yeah.
far places. So this is actually, I think this book tells you how to develop psychic abilities, even though it doesn't say that explicitly. If you really want to learn about that, I translated a different book called 334 per thousand lies. It
Mm.
talks about how a German person was able to develop very strong psychic abilities, but he used it in the wrong way. He became the leader or the chairman of a secret society that was founded in Germany, and caused a lot of issues to the world down the road.
Okay. I believe he studied, if it's the same person I'm thinking of, German, he studied, there was a German program where they had a girl, she had items on the table and she had her hands and she was like using her energy to move the items across the table or something. It was that was in Germany. They were doing that experiment. I just can't remember what years it was.
Yeah, actually, for that, a lot of Chinese or Indians can do that too. Because I know in China, in the 80s at least, and early 90s, they have a special department in the kind of like semi-military branch of the government, that they kind of encourage the young people and also qigong masters to further develop their psychic abilities, to teleport objects, and to perform some of the things that people would consider to be ESPs, or magic. But the book that I'm talking about right now is a very unique and dark book that talks about how members of the secret society, after developing the psychic abilities, began to manipulate the minds of the people, and also to use a specific form of astrology and numerology to see the past, and as well as the probabilities of the future. They also use their ability to create a lot of conflicts in the world, divide and conquer. Um, they had strong psychic abilities to materialize,
Hmm.
for example, like diamonds out of thin air,
Oh
and also
wow.
to kill someone psychically. Um, but that book is very dark, not recommended for an average reader.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Um, if humanity wanted to replicate one of these abilities, which one would be most feasible at a starting point for us?
I think is first to realize the meaning of life, which is to develop our spirituality and to learn spiritual lessons we have to learn. And then you should look inside for answers, because the kingdom of God is within you. We are all the creations of the Creator. So when the Creator created every one of us, it is inserted a tiny portion of itself to each of our astral bodies. We can communicate to the Creator through our astral bodies by meditation or by different prayers, through different prayers. And then once you realize that, you're going to realize that in deep meditations or deep prayers, a lot of these psychic abilities can be developed. If you learn about the Catholic religion, you're going to realize a lot of the Catholic priests were able to levitate without their kind of knowledge, without their intention, during their deep prayers. So when you are in that kind of meditative state, when you are so kind of intertwined with nature, then you're able to develop a lot of these psychic abilities.
Well, I do know, as far as the psychic abilities go, that the most ones that people are talking about is the ones that, remote viewing, and viewing another location. And it is exactly what you say it is, because I've experienced kind of similar things, but not exactly. But we can get into that after the show. What does the book reveal about Atlantis and Lemuria, and why do they collapse so quickly? Is it because, this is my hypothesis? I didn't read the whole book yet, but my hypothesis for what I read was too much power, too greedy, not very good people, and their technology pretty much got too advanced for them to handle, and it exploded, or it did something, or that's what I understand from Plato, a Crisis, and Timaeus, and all that from Egypt, from the Egypt times. But I don't know exactly what they wrote on that either, but I'm just saying Plato and all them had written about it. So
yeah, Lemuria existed in the past, and it was in the Pacific Ocean, part of the Hawaiian Islands today, and part of the Easter Island today, and also some of the Pacific Islands were part of Lemuria in the past. So what happened was that a group of people, as I mentioned, from Arimo X3, decided to migrate to Earth because they had their own overpopulation issue. So they had to migrate some of their people to a different planet, and they chose Earth. They had a very successful civilization on the continent of Lemuria, and from 250,000 years ago until 14,500 years ago, when the entire continent sunk into the ocean almost overnight due to a natural disaster. It was an earthquake. What caused the earthquake was not told by the book, but there were gaseous belts beneath the continent. And if you study geology, you're going to realize that, yes, indeed, there are still gaseous reserves or belts beneath the Pacific Ocean. So this is probably one of the reasons why it caused such a huge chain reaction, causing the entire continent of Lemuria, that sunk into the ocean. In terms of Atlantis, the book really doesn't mention why Atlantis destructed itself. However, it does mention that very learned people from Atlantis, like Thoth, went to Egypt and built great pyramids in Egypt. And then also the Sphinx is a special structure. When we are ready spiritually, then there are three chambers beneath the Sphinx can be opened. And once they're opened, then everything will be known. So I know that recently people discovered that there are some structural anomalies beneath the Sphinx, and also there are subterranean structures beneath the pyramid in Egypt. I think sooner or later they're going to start exploring to see what's really under or beneath the Sphinx or the pyramid.
yeah, I've heard that before. There was an archaeology expedition by the Sphinx that uncovered hidden chambers underneath, but then that evidence was buried, and then now I figure out that it came back because there was the Egyptian curator for the museum or something is saying that it's not there. There's nothing up there. But if you check the past records and you look at the pictures, there is an opening, a circle opening on top of the Sphinx's head. So what was that at the time when they had it there? It's what you said. There's chambers that are underneath the Sphinx. Somebody said to me that was the stairway to the Library of Knowledge or something.
Yeah, it's probably going to be what Edgar Casey said about the Hall of Records.
Yes.
And according to Dr. Tom Chaco, he says that once we open the three chambers beneath the Sphinx, we might be able to see some of the light bulbs powered by nuclear energy that are still on. And then he tells people not to be surprised if we find it. And also he warns people not to really open the chambers unless we are ready spiritually, because they may contain dangerous weapons that can either destroy us ourselves or really improve our lives.
Yeah, I think about the scans that I've seen from Egypt and having the below scans of these columns with looking like circles around it, like maybe possibly copper, that could be electricity, and they could be using that on the bottom for some kind of electricity or something. Like they had these scans come out, and you're right. It could have been, it was a battery source, but it was something that needs to be investigated because it could either hurt us or it could help us in the future.
Yeah. So the pyramid was actually built 17,000 years ago as an energy center to capture cosmic and terrestrial energies. And the ancient pharaohs, according to this book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, sat in the king's chamber and then communicated with people on different planets. And also they used it to make rain. And I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does, because also the aren't the outside openings are directly in line with star constellations. So you are correct on that as well. It could have been a beacon. It could have been, like somebody else told me before, is that it looks like that there was a chemical process that was done inside the pyramids to make a kind of photonic beam. And they said if you look on the walls, you can see the walls are eroded, but not by water, but by some kind of chemical reaction to the, what they had down there. They put water in there, yes, but then what did they add to the water to make the reaction, to make the energy, to make the beam go up, just like you said? That is out there as well too. And it directly aligns with the book, so that's great. Now, what archaeological evidence today lines up with the book's descriptions?
Well, for one thing, it talks about where the Hebrews came from.
Okay.
They landed in what's now today southern Russia, and then because of the climate and the temperature was really cold at that time, so they moved south to today's Middle East or Israel. And also, I find that to be very interesting. And also in the book, if you read about it, it actually gives very specific descriptions about the locations of different continents in the past. For example, it talks about Antarctica having a mild climate in the past because it was like not located in the South Pole in the past. And also Australia was connected to New Zealand in the past. And also like there are other descriptions. Like I think sooner or later we're going to discover something in Greenland, because according to this book, about 1.32 million years ago, um, there was a flood caused by volcanic activities,
Mhm.
caused by actually um, asteroids hitting Earth. And then there were some spacecrafts that uh, people at that time used to escape from Earth to prevent all the people from being killed.
Mhm.
So one of the spacecraft landed in was now today's Greenland. So I think once we are able to do additional research in Greenland, we may be able to find the crashed spacecraft from the past.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Um, are there specific submerged locations that we should be investigating and for remains? And I want to comment real quick on that because I now remember what I was going to say. Admiral Byrd had an expedition. Admiral Byrd's journals from the United States say that when he made a pass over the pole, he saw trees. He saw woolly mammoths. He saw all of this, and that was in his journal. So that ties in with the book again, a mild climate, meaning we're going through a change period. Yes, it was frozen, but now it's not. Now it's slowly melting away and becoming milder and milder, like the book said it was.
Yes.
Okay.
And indeed, we are able to find a lot of corroborating evidence. For example, we may discover a Great Pyramid or the remains of a Great Pyramid in the
Mm-hmm.
Pacific Ocean near Japan, like near Japan, Taiwan, that area, Pacific Rim. Because according to this book, there was a Great Pyramid built in the northwestern corner of the continent of Lemuria.
Hmm.
And also, we may be able to find also different animal, like kind of archaeological findings of different kinds of animals that described in the book. I think we need to do more in-depth research from reading the book.
That's very interesting that you said northwest corner of Lemuria because I got another tie-in for you. The Black Pyramid in Alaska that's supposedly underground 100 feet and is conducting electricity. That's a theory right now. It's called the Black Pyramid in Alaska. And you said southwest, there is another pyramid that was connected to Lemuria. And that makes a lot of sense. It's southwest. I didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
So you
And
should, yeah, that ties in with the book as well then. So we investigate these locations, we might find they're just leftover remnants of their technology, or
yes.
maybe them. Or do you
Yeah,
think that they might still be down there in the earth, or like I know they're coming here. I've seen it. Everybody's seen it. But are they here? Are they in the earth? Are they? You know what I mean?
you mean the Lemurians or
Hmm.
the people
Yeah,
from Thiaoouba?
both. Either
Both.
one.
Okay. In terms of Lemurians, I think they are actually the ancestors of the Polynesians that we have now, and some of their people went to India, some of them went to Latin America, some of them went to Australia and parts of Asia. So this is why you see a lot of megalithic structures in the rest of the world, like in Latin America, Peru, Bolivia, in parts of Asia, and so this is the evidence of their activities in the past. There may be some of the Lemurians that are still kind of around. That is possible,
Okay.
and certainly I can assure you that the other book, 334 Lies, that I translated from German into English, talks about how they were able to obtain knowledge from the ancient civilizations.
Oh, wow.
And this is why they're able to predict the future. If you know about the Illuminati card game, you're going to realize that the card game really predicted a lot of things that happened after the release of the card game. And also, in terms of the Thiaoubans, their last intervention was taking Michel, the author of the book, to their planet for 9 days and then came back. But previously, they did intervene during World War II, preventing Germany from being the first country to develop the atomic bomb.
Did the Foo Fighters have something to do with that then? That was when we saw a lot of like orbs and everything the U.S. military did. Everybody called them Foo Fighters.
I think there may be from the ETs, but I'm not sure if they're from the Thiaoubans.
Okay.
The Thiaoubans are able to influence the decisions of some of our politicians. So what they did was that they probably caused Dr. Heisenberg of Germany to make a very stupid mistake, a miscalculation. And that report was read by Hitler. So Hitler believed that due to the report, Germany didn't have enough natural resources or materials to develop the bomb. So the Americans, we got the lead and deployed the bomb in Japan, ending the war earlier than it would have been otherwise. So they sided with the Americans during World War II because the Americans were more sincere in ensuring or protecting individual liberties.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what is the real cause behind the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle? Any theories?
Parallel universe. So there are portals. There are actually natural phenomena on Earth. There are portals or warps that exist in the atmosphere or in space that are just like ribbons floating around. And once human beings, planes, or ships got near to that portals, they get sucked into it. They're going to remain in the parallel universe unless they know how to get out. So inside of a parallel universe, time stops and people don't feel hunger or pain or thirst. So this is why a lot of people disappear in the Bermuda Triangle or in certain locations in the national parks in the US. David Paulides did a very thorough study on it, mapping all the clusters of where people tend to disappear or vanish. And according to the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, the ETs take advantage of the portals to come in to Earth and get out of Earth. So this is why when a lot of the observers see ETs or UFOs or UAPs, they tend to appear out of a specific location in the sky. This is the evidence that they use. This is the evidence that they use the certain portals to hide themselves, so that it's not going to cause panic or something.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I know there's been a lot of people, missing 411, like you said, David Paulides, and it's a wonderful that he's doing something about it when nobody else is. He shined a light on that. So many disappearances, so many clusters of people just walking and they're gone.
Yeah.
So how does the book describe these auras and human energy fields? Are they measurable then?
Yes, they're actually measurable. If you do research, you're going to find there's a GDV device invented or developed by Dr. Kurokov of, I think, Russia. He has this kind of device in which you can put your fingerprint on the sensor, and then your aura from the finger can be shown. Auras are very interesting because they're also known as human energy fields. And some people like Barbara Brennan, former NASA scientist, and also Judith Collins, a very gifted aura reader in Australia, they can see and read and interpret auras. I remember there's a story of Barbara Brennan. One day she sees like a friend of hers having a grayish color in the liver area, and she kind of suggested that something might happen to her liver. And her friend, after 3 months or so, was diagnosed of liver cancer. So auras can actually foretell what's going to happen in the human physiology, the physical body. So if you're able to read auras, you're able to not only see what kind of illness you're going to have in the future, but you're also going to tell whether a person is lying or not, or if a person is being honest or not. Because aura readers can tell just by looking at the colors of the auras, and they can tell if a politician is lying straight face or like on stage or not.
Yeah. Well, I know. Is that like the same thing with mood rings then? How they change colors? They're reading your aura, almost your energy field, to change the color of the ring. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, kind of like that. So this
Okay.
is why being able to see auras is very important. And I'm actually trying to develop a better aura reader or a better aura camera in which you don't have to really put your finger on a sensor.
Okay. Um, what practices can help people strengthen or tune their energy fields?
I think the best practice would be uh, meditation. By that, I mean totally letting everything go, letting go of yourself, just be in a totally relaxed state. And in that state of being, you can really communicate and kind of be in constant contact with your higher self. So with that, you can develop a lot of the extrasensory abilities, like remote viewing or having sixth sense or intuition. And I think that's going to help you to navigate your day-to-day challenges. So I think meditation is probably the best way to really develop yourself spirituality, and also to really heal all the different diseases. Because when you meditate, when you totally let everything go, you are in a way restoring yourself back into your original innate state. um, it's going to activate your innate immune system. So that's actually the best way to maintain health through meditation.
Okay. Um, do the ETs offer any advice on how to interact with non-physical entities safely?
Uh, well, the book explains what ghosts are, and I can shed some light in it. That when a person dies, the astral body leaves the physical body. And then there's going to be a life review process in which everything you did in the lifetime will be shown to you holographically, just like a film, from the date that you were born until you passed. And then you're going to be able to feel everything that others felt when you did certain things onto others. So there's a evaluation process, a self-evaluation process. But since you are part of God, the Creator, and the Creator is part of you, you are actually also being evaluated by the Creator as well. So that's the life review process.
Okay.
Life review process. But in 3 days' time, though, 81% of the electrons of your astral body will go to your higher self. So this is why Christ resurrected after 3 days. This is why in Tibetan culture, people believe that you should not touch the corpse of the dead at least for 3 days because the cycle has not been completed yet.
Okay.
The other 19% of the electrons will remain in nature until either that person reincarnates or until the electrons are recycled by nature. So the ghosts are actually the remaining 19% of electrons of the astral body of the past. of the person who just passed. And because electrons have static energy forces, they resemble the appearance of the person who just passed. And also electrons contain memories. So this is why ghosts frequently haunt the places they loved or hated. But if you don't like electrons, if you don't like ghosts, you can just use a lighter or a fire to dispel the ghosts or the entities that you don't wish to be in touch with.
Yeah, exactly. How did the ETs define then God, Jesus, Buddha in relationship to us as humanity?
So Jesus and the Buddha are really interesting. I'll talk about the Buddha first. So Buddha is a human being who was enlightened through the process of his practice, and he got his final enlightenment after being having meditated for 7 days under the Bodhi tree, and he is actually given the highest praise by the ETs from Thiaoouba among all the earthlings throughout history of all the beings on earth. Jesus was a person who was born from the Virgin Mary, who couldn't perform miracles before the age of 30. And he traveled to India and died in Japan. So there's a tomb of Jesus in Japan, in Shingo Village, Japan, that people can still visit and do research. But Christ is a different entity. Christ is someone who could perform miracles. And his whole purpose was just to convince people that his teachings were to be believed. And he, of course, preached about everything talked about in the Bible, about love, about spirituality, about life after death. This is actually the reason why he resurrected after 3 days, is because he wanted to show people that there's life after death and there's reincarnation. And unfortunately, the concept of reincarnation was later removed by the people in the church. And the book is very specific. It named the 4 Catholic Church Council meetings that intentionally distorted the original meanings of the ancient scriptures. So this is why a lot of the religious people, like the Christian people, they don't believe in reincarnation anymore. But I would suggest people to do additional research, to read books written by Dr. Ian Stevenson, Dr. Raymond Moody, Dr. Michael Weiss, Dr. Michael Newton. They all talk about reincarnation. Those are medical doctors. They have evidence using scientific methodology. So I think, and also explain, especially Dr. Ian Stevenson, he explains what birthmarks are. And actually makes perfect sense, because birthmarks are actually the leftover marks for the injuries of one's past lives. So if a person was died of a trauma or injury in his past life, for example, like a gunshot in the shoulder, then it's definitely going to affect the astral body of that person. And then once the astral body leaves the physical body, it's going to contain this kind of damage or mark. And once this astral body reincarnates into the embryo, it's definitely going to leave some kind of mark in the form of birthmark.
Past impression.
Yes, past impressions.
Okay. So with how should disclosure reshape the way that we see religions today then?
Well, I think people will need to realize that there's a creator in the universe that created everything, including the stars, the planets, animals, human beings, and plants, as well as ETs on different planets. But the creator is a pure spirit. Some people would call the creator the great ether. It doesn't have a face. It created everything, is omnipotent. There are different kinds of ETs. There are highly advanced ETs that have been guiding us throughout history, but there are also lower level of ETs whose spacecraft crashed on Earth. We should be learning from the masters, the ones that were recorded by the ancient scriptures in the Bible, and not necessarily from our peers, the Greys, whose spacecraft crashed on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What daily practices or mindsets do they recommend for the spiritual development? Is it just meditation, or should we be looking at meditation, nutrients to the body, what we're taking in, everything?
Be seekers of knowledge, because knowledge is power. When you have true knowledge, you can really do a lot of things, and knowledge gives you the direction and will guide you to the right direction. So they suggest people to do their own homework in discovering how the world works on Earth. Interestingly enough, is the book criticizes the four dangers on Earth and warns people about them. Number one is money. Number two is politicians. Number three is journalists and drugs. And number four, religions. So it actually warns people about also about the political system on Earth. It criticizes dictatorship or authoritarian regime, but at the same time also strongly criticizes the two-party system, saying that the two-party system is extremely inefficient because of the swing effect. So I guess the audience would know what I mean, but
yeah, it can go either way.
Yeah, it can go either way. Yeah, so this is just a different system in which run by people who are really sincere, the politicians who are not interested in fame or reputation or power or money. The ways to elect politicians who really work for the people, for the interests of the people. So I think this book is a gem for people to uncover.
Okay. Can you explain what the ETs revealed about U.S. projects like time machines and Project Westford?
Yeah, those are two different projects. The time machine, according to this book, was a project in which the U.S. government was trying to develop in order to go to the past and see the probabilities of the future. It actually explains how we can improve on the development. It talks about that when a planet is born, there is a cocoon, what the book calls the psychosphere, that rotates at 7 times the speed of light, absorbing and capturing everything that happens on the planet. So in order to successfully develop a time machine, you have to match the vibrational frequency of the cocoon or the psychosphere. And the US government or the scientists were focusing too much on the wavelengths. And this actually reminds me of the Philadelphia experiment, in which they're trying to cloak the ships from the radars by projecting certain wavelengths of energy, and it caused actually a distortion of time and location. So they actually gave hints to the US scientists to successfully develop a time machine. Project Westford was a different project in which the ETs tell us to really give to the skeptical people in case they want to verify the information in the book. They didn't really mention the name Project Westford in the book, but it talks about a project in the 1960s in which the US government sent out hundreds of millions of needles into space, copper needles. I did some research. Indeed, it's called Project Westford, and they were trying to improve the telecommunication signals um, by having them bounce back from the copper needles in space. And the ET said that they resulted in the failure of the project. They collected some of the needles in space too. So if you do research, you can find evidence on that.
That would be interesting. What happened to the other needles? Ooh. Um, that's another rabbit hole to dig down. Thank you. um, what uh what practical solutions or non-violent actions did the ETs suggest to overcome them?
Well, if people really have the knowledge, they're going to realize that the presidents come and go every 4 or 8 years or so. But there's a group of people, what some people would call the deep state, that run the show. They kind of manipulate the policies of the president or the executive branch of the government. And there's also another group of people who kind of indirectly control the deep state. And they're probably related to some of the families in the world, the financiers, financial families, and also partially influenced by secret societies.
Mm-hmm.
And people, this is why I suggest people to learn what the Chinese are doing. I mean, the Chinese know that information from the government is not to be really relied on. So they do their own research. And the book really says that the power of the people is not to be underestimated. If you look at all the great revolutions in the past, in the US and also in China, at least in China, I can talk about it because all the great revolutions come from at the grassroots level, from the rural parts of China. All the successful ones, all the ones that made great changes in the societies, they never came from the politicians or the governments. So I think the power lies in the hands of the people through nonviolent resistance, just like what Gandhi did in India and what Dr. Martin Luther King preached. Because if you really think about it, we, the people, lose very little if we have a nonviolent strike. Yeah. Each of us is just going to lose like a few dollars of our wage. But the people who rely on our slave labor will lose humongously for every hour that we stop working for them. So they're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars for each hour that we stop working for them. If we act together collectively in a concerted fashion, we're going to make great changes. But it has to be done through nonviolent resistance. Violence never does anything good.
No, it just breeds more.
Right.
That's why it needs to be done through peaceful means. I 100% agree with you with that, sir. If we embrace their teachings today, what would you change first?
First of all, I would meditate and I would learn as much as possible who is really running the entire world. And I would wake up people, as many people as possible, using my personal connections and to invite like-minded people to speak publicly in different venues and different forums so that more people can be wake up, because it has to be a collective effort, not just for the people in the US, but also for the people in the rest of the world, by the people in China, in India, in Japan, in Russia, in Europe, in Africa, in Australia, and also in Latin America as well. So it has to be a collective international effort in order for great changes to happen. I will do everything possible to wake up as many people as possible.
That's wonderful, sir. Of all the lessons in the Thiaoouba Prophecy, which is most urgent for humanity now?
to look inside for answers when you have challenges in life. For the kingdom of God is within you. This is a verse in the Bible that I think most people tend to overlook. And I think the most urgent and important message is to really find answers by looking inside and not to worship any idols or politicians or kind of so-called leaders. And I think one needs to realize that we are all created equal, and each one of us has to go through our own journeys in life, spiritual journeys, and to learn different spiritual lessons.
I totally agree, sir. Where can listeners find your work, articles, or upcoming talks that you're going to be having?
They can find me on Google. Just search my name, and they can find my website, chanasona.org/Thiaoouba. I would strongly encourage people to read the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, because as a lawyer, I can find a lot of specific verifiable facts contained in the book, evidence, direct and circumstantial evidence. But reading the book has been the best investment I ever made in my entire life. You can get the book just anywhere, on Amazon, on Audible, or just do a search.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good book to read.
What message would you like to leave for all those still skeptical but curious? And then we'll have a question and answer for the audience.
Well, if you are skeptical about anything I just talked about, check out the book anytime. Anyway, just read it as a science fiction. As I believe so, because in the very beginning when I read the book, I thought it was a science fiction until I read the chapter Who was Christ. It answered all the questions I had about the Bible, about the church, about the hypocrisies of the religions.
No, I agree. I hope people see this and they do start getting a hold of you. And we'll talk after the Q&A, because I might have another title for the book for you. Maybe.
Great.
I'm thinking. All right, let's go with Tony. He's got, what does Samuel think about the hypothesis of orbs being non-human, non-biological, intelligent life form living in the upper atmosphere above Earth? This hypothesis, some academics have still theorized.
Orbs. Can you be a little bit more specific about the orbs?
He wants to know if they're, what do you think of them? Do you think they're non-human, non-biological, intelligent life forms? Do you think they're living up there in the atmosphere? Or do you think the orbs are projections of ET intelligence, their ships or their craft? Or what's your impression of the orbs that's going around the world?
If those are the orbs in space, or if they're talking about some of the drones or something strange in the sky, anomalies in the sky, just be careful. They could be like man-made machines or crafts. They could be from the ETs or probes from the ETs. It could also be some kind of anomalies in the sky, like natural phenomena. If you're talking about orbs in the room that some people can see, those are spiritual entities or electrons of the spirits. And some people who can communicate or see the ghosts can actually see the different orbs in the room. So there are different kind of orbs that we can talk about. It really depends.
Okay. Next question. Still Tony. Would you recommend listening to guided meditations? Like there is some guided meditations where they have the binaural beats and everything.
Yes. If you really want to develop your ESP or psychic abilities, try the theta brainwave meditations. I began mine with guided meditations, but then later on I found myself to be more into meditations not guided by anyone, because I'm fairly independent.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next one we have. You got a lot of questions, Tony, but I love it. Bring them on. Regarding the UFO cover up by secret societies, have you heard of the Fabian Fabian Society, and are they part of this cover up too?
So
I haven't heard of that.
mhm. So I personally, I'm very curious about what the ETs tell us. So I was looking for books written by ET contactees. Now, what the books tell us has to really contain specific verifiable facts. I read so many books written by ET contactees, like Billy Meyer's stories and also things like that. Some of the facts need to make sense, need to be logical, need to make common sense. For example, if you read about a book that talks about how the Great Pyramid was made, if the ETs tell you that the pyramid was made by 200,000 slaves in a 40-year period of time, that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. At least to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because the pyramid just cannot be or could not be made that way using that many slaves for a 40-year period of time. So I have to have very strict scrutiny on the things conveyed by the books written by ET contactees, or the some of the things we learn about the secret societies. They have to make sense to me. So I think we have to be careful on that.
So don't get pulled into all of it. You need to do research on it, just like we were saying in the beginning. Like this book is like breadcrumbs, and you have to read it, and then you do your own investigation more into it if you want to pursue it. All right, let's see. Next question we got here. Oh, for me. Have you read the book? Yeah, I am. Truthfully, I am about halfway through it, and I'm liking it. It has a lot of connections to the Bible that you can make, and a lot of connections that I've made, even through Enoch and through what they're saying, but maybe as like this being the book before, or maybe if we could find it dated before somewhere, this might have been like a section of Enoch, or even Enoch might have been a section of this, or a break off of this reading. So that's what I believe on the book anyway. It's very interesting read, and I'm still reading it. So that's my take on the book so far. All right, Tony. Oh, and what is Samuel's take on the Muslim religion? Does it have a place in all of our futures?
I haven't really studied enough about the Muslim religion, but I like their music, the chanting music, because I used to live in Spain, in Madrid, Spain. So I always hear the Muslim people, they pray, they have the music, because they go into the subconscious mind of the people. And this is why believers of the Muslim religion tend to have strong convictions or beliefs, because the music goes into their subconscious mind. And if you learn about all the great inspirational speakers and leaders like Tony Robbins, yes, he gives a very long kind of lectures, and it's like 10-hour day or 12-hour day. People just are immersed in the environment. So what he is doing is just to make his messages, this kind of motivational messages go into the participants' subconscious mind. So if you can use meditation and to do that on your own, you can achieve anything possible you want to achieve.
Okay, awesome. All right, that was the last of the questions, Samuel. I want to thank you for being on the show. If you have anything else you want to say to the audience before we close it up, and I'll say my final thoughts after that.
Yeah, I strongly recommend people to check out the book. And if you really like what I say, please let others know so that they can speak out more.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. And I want to thank also Steve Bassett. Steve, he hooked, he sent you my way, and I thank him for that. And anybody who wants to come on, who has something, who is adding to the disclosure movement, come on my show. You can say what you've researched, what you found, what you would like to get out there, and I will put it on, plain and simple, because it needs to come out. Just like you said, disclosure needs to come out, but it needs to come from us. It's not going to come from the government. It's going to come from us. You need to do the research, do your own research. You did. You translated the entire book. Like, I'll bet you did a way more research than anyone else would do right now. But we need to get it out there. And I'm thankful that Steve, sent you my way. And anytime you want to come back on, sir, you are more than welcome. You just shoot me a message and I'll have you on.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh, you're very welcome, sir. And I just want to remind everyone, I'll talk to you in the back chat, sir. I want to remind everyone that on November 12th, that's right, November 12th at 11 o'clock a.m., we are starting our animal shelter outreach program. We have gotten $1,000 together of animal supplies, and we're going to be delivering them to the animal shelter at the Danville area SPCA to help the dogs, the cats, and the other animals that are in their shelter for this time of great need in that we need in our shelters. We can't forget our furry friends out there, and on the Galactic Family Podcast, we care about everyone. Animals, people, they can't speak for themselves, so we will speak for them. So if you want to tune in on November 12th at 11 o'clock, we'll have a live on the site celebration with the actual staff there. You can ask questions and just find out what you can do to help the shelters, help our furry friends. And as always, Galactic Family, thank you for paying attention. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you on in the next one that we do, which hopefully will be soon. I've got some plans on doing a weekly ET UFO show weekly that's going to have a back audience that you will be able to come on the screen. You can say your piece. We can talk. You don't have to have your picture. And you can just say what you want. It's going to be an open chat discussion for UAPs, UFOs, experiencers, and we're going to get some discussion on. But other than that, Galactic Family, have a good night, and I will see you guys on the next one. Hope to see you on the 12th. It's going to be a great celebration.